2 years ago, a small group of visionaries gathered around a table with one bold idea: to create the U.S. Innovation Hub for Circular Economy Technologies. What began as a conversation among a dozen industry and university leaders has grown into a movement of over 400 professionals, researchers, and policymakers dedicated to transforming the future of manufacturing in Kentucky and Tennessee.
Game Change is a potentially enormous project for the region. We started this with a vision 2 years ago to build the U.S. Innovation Hub for Circular Economy Technologies, advancing sustainable manufacturing. I think the people who had that idea around that table back then was about 10 or 12. Today, we have 400 plus in this hotel that are here to learn, share, network, and join that mission.
The foundation was clear: modernize manufacturing, integrate circularity at every level, and build an economic model that thrives on innovation and resource efficiency for supply chain resilience and domestic competitiveness. But how do you shift an entire region towards a circular economy? The answer: collaboration.
Every time we came to one of these summits, as we worked together, one thing that I've really liked is the scale of collaboration that Game Change could achieve. I think it's very unique in all the engines, not just different types of organizations, just how many of these organizations are interested in working together towards a common goal.
Kentucky and Tennessee sit at the heart of the nation's supply chain. By 2040, more freight tonnage will flow through I-65 and I-75 than anywhere else in the US. This region isn't just an economic hub, it's a manufacturing powerhouse. But implementing circular economy practices is not as simple as you may think. There are various challenges, but they aren't without solutions.
One of the biggest challenges of using recycled content is the variability. You know, as an integrated chemical company, we're used to very consistent raw materials that we get from refineries and other sources. But when you're working with recycled content, every shipment is different. Every shipment has nuances that impact our manufacturing processes. And so better data would allow us to be able to anticipate those fluctuations and to optimize our processes accordingly.
I think the biggest challenge we have is that we have thousands, tens of thousands of small and medium-sized manufacturers across our region, across a wide sector of industries that are not currently connected. I think that's the biggest challenge. But also, I think the great irony is that that's also our greatest strength. Because if you think about sustainable manufacturing, if you think about the economy, the circular economy that we want to help facilitate, what you need is exactly what we have. All of those potential partners just wanting to engage and collaborate. You know, automotive, aerospace, chemical, food and beverage, right? By bringing all those different sectors together and companies, you can really do things in sustainable manufacturing, circular economy that you could never do if you had kind of a more singular focus on any one industry. So I think our greatest challenge is also our greatest opportunity.
Yeah, developing a circular economy in this region means to me really accelerating this region's ability to be a resource hub for next generation infrastructure. Things like future of transportation, AI, all the infrastructure needed for AI. You know, this region has a rich history being a resource hub, you know, spanning back to the Industrial Revolution. We have a rich mining history and a rich industrial heritage. You know, this future is really going to look at, instead of looking at mining technology or looking at legacy manufacturing technology, really looking at building cost-competitive technology for recovery pathways, remanufacturing pathways, and recycling pathways, which can be transformational for the region.
The Game Change initiative was designed to meet challenges like these head-on. With an initial $1 million NSF engine development grant, we set out to organize a coalition of top-tier universities, national laboratories, government leaders, and industry partners to develop the framework for a circular, data-driven, domestic resource-efficient manufacturing future.
The global economy takes our raw material, which is the scrap or recycled material, out of our economy. It'll have a business impact on us, both from availability of key raw materials to the cost of producing metal from ground versus producing metal from a circular pipeline.
The transition from a linear to a circular economy requires more than just ambition. It requires infrastructure, research, new workforce development strategies, and new business models.
It's not just a good thing to do, but it's also economically a sensible thing to do. That's what we see as a common thing with Game Change. And that's part of the reason why Lexmark is supporting.
Developing a circular economy in this region is pretty meaningful. When we think about the security of the materials that we need, talent that we need, supply chain infrastructure that we need, almost nothing is made even in America, much less in a given region. So when we start to imagine the capabilities needed, the technologies needed, and the partnerships needed in order to take an item, do as little as we can to it as possible, and get it back into the hands of a user who pays for it, that's the heart of the economic argument. Great margins, there's a great argument to be made for economic development. The challenge that we have, however, is that to do that, we need to fight upstream against today's linear economy that's had 100 years of development.
By leveraging advanced material science, supply chain transparency, and scalable recycling solutions, we're proving that sustainability isn't just good for the planet, it's good for business. From an idea around a conference table to an initiative that's reshaping the region, the momentum is undeniable, but this is just the beginning.
I think the most important thing to know about Game Change for me is really having experienced the collaboration that's been building between all different types of industry players, and not just industry, but we have academia involved, we have large businesses involved, nonprofits, small businesses, startups. So it's really been a hub already for a lot of collaboration and information sharing, and just a lot of expertise in one room, which has been super exciting to see. So following that closely, I think is definitely well worth it.